Hey, Mike with No Problems Gaming here, and today's video will be doing a review on the Resident Evil 4 remake, so let's get into it. Now, the original Resident Evil 4 was one of my favorite Resident Evils in the entire series, so I was super excited to see this remake, but I wasn't exactly sure how it would hold up compared to the original. And certainly there's some changes that have been made, enhancements, as well as some different things they deleted from the original game, but we'll cover that more in this video. Now, the story of the game is basically the exact same as the original. You'll play as Leon Kennedy, a survivor from the Raccoon City incident, an ex-cop now turned government agent, as he goes on a mission to rescue the kidnapped president's daughter. And so as you start off the game, you'll find yourself in a remote village with crazed villagers that seem to be possessed, or at the very least crazy and extremely aggressive. And eventually you'll unravel an underground cult, parasitic bioweapons, and much more. And so it's definitely one of my favorite stories in the Resident Evil series, and so it's great to see that they maintained that through this game. And as I mentioned, they added some different parts to the game, or really expanded on a few different areas. They did cut out a few parts from the original. They've also made some revisions in different areas and expanded them. And so in some parts it feels very familiar to the original, but then others kind of feel like a totally new game as well. Now, the first time I played through the game, I played on the hardcore mode, and that was actually suggested to me by the game. It said if you had played the original before, you want to play on this hardest difficulty option. And I think that was a good choice, but at the same time, I think it maybe added to some of the frustration in the game, just because it can be incredibly difficult when you're playing with very underpowered weapons on that difficulty setting. But at the same time, not that that's a bad thing, because that really upped the intensity and really gave me that feeling like I could die around any corner. And so that's something you certainly want to have when you're playing a survival horror game like Resident Evil. Now, I will say one of the key things I didn't necessarily like about the game was that your knife weapons now had a durability to them. In the original game, you could shoot zombies and enemies in the kneecaps, for example, knock them down on the ground, and then knife them a few times to take them out. And I really liked using that strategy. And while you can still do that to some extent, your knives now have that durability, so they frequently break, and it's not something you can do really on a consistent basis to save ammunition. And so that was a little frustrating. That was definitely one of the ways I was able to upgrade weapons faster in the original game. Sort of discovered that after my first couple of playthroughs in the game, once I really learned the mechanics, and so that was a little disappointing to see that that wasn't available this time around. I'm sure that was just to help out with some balancing issues of the game, but I really enjoyed doing that on the original, so I was a little disappointed to see that was gone, or not something I could use as often compared to the original. Now, you'll definitely notice as you go through the game, some of the key bosses are still there, and they generally function the same. But at the same time, they have eliminated the timed action events during cutscenes, which I think is ideal. At times, that could definitely be annoying if you're playing for a long time, beating through significant parts of the game, only to instantly die during a cutscene because you didn't realize that you needed to push a specific button at a certain time. And so I'm kind of glad that they got rid of that, but they still did keep in some timed attacks when you're fighting enemies out and about throughout the world. So you might be able to melee attack them, give them a suplex, different things like that. And so they kept that in the game, and so I like that as well. Now, similar to the original, they have RPG elements when it comes to leveling up your guns and your weapons, making them more powerful. You can upgrade your knives this time around, making them stronger, improving the durability. And there's just a ton of weapon types in this game as well. A bunch of different handguns, several shotguns, different rifles, all with kind of their own unique layout of reload speed, attack speed, power, and more. There's also a special ultimate ability for your weapons once you've powered them up all the way. And I'll definitely say I don't think it's possible to fully upgrade all of your weapons on your first playthrough. So if you're looking to max out all your different weapons to the best that they can be, I'm sure you're going to play this game multiple times through. Some of the other things that they definitely enhanced about the game is there's several quality of life improvements. For example, a lot of time during the original game would be spending moving items around, making sure they were the right angle to fit perfectly in your inventory. And certainly you can still do that in this game, but now they have the option where you can just click a button and it auto sorts it, making it a lot easier to shift around your inventory, optimize it, and pick up new items when you need them. Another really cool feature is that you can store weapons from your inventory in kind of your permanent storage with the click of a button, even if you're out and about. And so that's very helpful to make sure that you can pick up everything that you want. You might need to travel back to a save point eventually to bring those guns out of your storage and switch things around, but just the ability where you can quickly store something if you're not potentially using it right then is very helpful to free up some space for your inventory. Now, as I was playing through, one of the things that really jumped out to me is that I didn't really remember how long this game actually was. There's a lot of content to this game. I believe it's like 16 chapters that you go through. So it's definitely got a lot of playtime to it, especially if you're playing on that higher difficulty setting the first time through. I think it took me at least 30 hours to get through everything. Obviously, I died a lot, but I think that's part of the fun of it, as you'll eventually get really good at taking out zombies and monsters and everything in between. Now, as I'm playing through on one of my later playthroughs, it's definitely a lot faster because I have those powered up guns. I'm more familiar with the area, so I can kind of run through things and take enemies out very quickly. But like I said, you'll probably want to play the game multiple times through to unlock all the different bonus features. There's different hidden weapons, different costumes, a bunch of different trophies in the game, and much more. There's also a Mercenaries game to add even more playtime to the game. But again, it's definitely a longer game compared to some of the other Resident Evil games in the series. There's a lot of content packed into this game. Another enhancement to this remake is that they tweaked how Ashley works. And so in the original, she had her own health bar. You would frequently need to heal her and keep her alive. This game, they've done away with that. So Ashley can get injured, and then you'll have to kind of go rescue her and pick her up, and then she's back to normal. And if that happens twice, or she gets attacked when she's already down, she can die, and then it's a game over. Or in some scenarios, enemies can pick her up and kidnap her and take her off screen through various exits in the area, and that can lead to a game over as well. So you definitely still need to protect her as you're playing through the game, but I feel like she's a little bit less annoying compared to the original, and you really only have to focus on your own health and making sure she's not taken out by enemies. I also think it's a little bit harder to upgrade all of your weapons fully, as you're going to need to routinely repair your knives throughout the game. You'll also be repairing your body armor once you find that. And so that can really eat up a lot of your money quickly. And so you'll definitely need to balance what you're putting into repairs compared to how you're upgrading your different weapons you find throughout the game. I also think this gives you a lot of replay value because you can switch up what weapon types you want to use throughout the game. Maybe you just want to focus on handguns or knives or shotguns, whatever the case might be, and you can really switch it up. Certainly you'll probably want to use different weapon types like rifles during some scenarios and maybe shotguns for another. But again, you could totally switch it up to really fit your playstyle and the weapons you want to use throughout the game, which is really cool. The shooting gallery also makes an appearance in this game, so you'll be able to have that as sort of a side mini game throughout the main story. And depending on how well you do in the shooting gallery, you'll earn some unlockables that you can eventually use to gain charms to attach to your weapon case, giving you special powered up abilities. I don't know about this for anyone else, but for me, I found the shooting gallery in this game a lot more difficult compared to the original. But maybe I just suck at it, I'm not sure, but I definitely found this game's version to be a lot more challenging. And I found I'd really just play it here and there without trying to unlock everything, which I really found that I did in the original game. Another thing they did bring back from the original as well is the ability to find a bunch of different treasure all around the world. And so this is great. It's a lot of fun collecting these as well as combining them to make more valuable treasure that you can then eventually sell at the store and use that money for upgrades and power-ups, making your weapons much more powerful. I feel like there's also a lot more side missions to the game, where occasionally in the original there'd be medallions hidden throughout the game, and if you got so many you'd earn a prize from the shop. But this time around there's even more missions like killing rats, finding a specific kind of fish in the lake, and much more. And so I really like those additional challenges hidden throughout the game. Overall though, I really enjoyed this game. Resident Evil 4 was already one of my favorites in the series, and they remade it so well. The graphics are phenomenal. They've really increased the intensity of the game, I feel, especially when you're playing on those harder difficulty levels. Revamping some of the annoying aspects of the game and adding those quality of life enhancements, I think make it even better as well. And this is definitely up there as one of my favorite Resident Evil games, if not even my most favorite in the entire series so far. So if you haven't picked up Resident Evil 4 Remake, I definitely recommend it. Whether you've played the original or are looking to play it for the first time, it's definitely one of my favorites in the Resident Evil series, and it's worth picking up. But let me know in the comments below, have you played it yet? What are your thoughts on the game? Let me know about your experiences below. And if you like this video, be sure to hit that like button as it really helps out the channel. And if you'd like to pick up a copy of the game, there'll be a link in the description below as well. And if you like videos like this on video games, board games, and everything nerdy, check out one of our other videos here. And if you haven't done so yet, be sure to subscribe and turn on the bell notifications to get the latest updates of new nerd videos we put out. But once again, thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you more soon.